Kia ora tātou, ko san Min Elle Park toko ingoa no Korea aho. Kei wai kōwhai, tāmaki makoro Aotearoa I ngā aia nei, taku kāinga, ka mahi aho I te First Union, whakawhetai mo te ihau. I think I mocked that up, but that's okay. Kia ora. Turn. So I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and my psychiatrist, who doesn't say much but very observant, said it's highly likely that you have ADHD. He paused and he said it's not mild, so, suggesting the opposite. And it was about a couple of months ago, but I self-diagnosed myself last year, and it's been an amazing journey. It's liberating. Huge sense of relief, learning more and more about ADHD and autism. Therefore, I'm learning more about myself at the age of 34. And such a huge sense of relief, understanding that all the big and little struggles and the flaws that I have, almost all of them, not all, but almost all, where was I? Almost all of them are not my fault. Almost all of them, all the flaws that I have, relates back to ADHD conditions. So it's not my fault. Everything makes so much better sense now. I'm just made this way. I'm more forgiving of myself, whereas in the past, always I was a harsh self-critic. Now I can forgive myself better and embrace myself just as who I am and be okay with it. It was not my fault that I was always late everywhere, but I made it here on time today. And it was not my fault that I was unable to memorize a piece of piano music or 3-minute speech for my assessment or dance routines. My mom often told me off a lot, saying that think before you speak, don't shake your feet, don't bite your nail. It all appears to be related to my ADHD conditions. I was and am a very anxious person. It's not like you can tell, but I'm unable to speak in public without scripts because I get anxious and forget the thoughts that I had at 0.2 seconds ago. Therefore, I have this. It often freezes. It's annoying, but I am. And so with the help of script or whatever the help that you can get, ADHD can work. It was not my fault, but probably all because of my ADHD brain's inability to regulate dopamine all along my entire life. A lot of my flaws. The problem of the dopamine regulation seems to be what is currently widely believed as the possible cause of ADHD. And it is a relatively late diagnosis at the age of 34 for me, but oh boy, aren't I so glad that I know that I have ADHD. I am not lazy. I don't lack willpower or lack self-discipline. Like how society, our friends, even our family members would usually paint people like us with ADHD conditions. On the way here, I was listening to the radio and Christina Aguilera was saying, you're beautiful no matter what they say. I accumulated 5 to 6 tertiary degrees without any plan whatsoever for the future or any thoughts about paying the student loan back. So I mindlessly studied till I maxed out on the student loans at about 80K, above 80K. I'll be indebted for the bloody next 15 years. But financial problems and having no future plans are apparently common traits for ADHD people. I was like, aha, makes sense. Thanks to National Party, they scrapped off student allowance payment for postgrad student on the first year of my postgrad studies. Therefore, I accumulated probably extra 25 to 30K. Can you tell I'm a Labour Party supporter? Yeah, I've done all sorts of jobs, and it counts up to 40 odd jobs. I think it's almost 50, but many of which were minimum wage jobs. I thought it was because I was trying my best to survive in expensive Auckland, which was partly true, but having many different jobs is also one of the common traits of ADHD. It's so liberating to know that, and you get quickly bored and need different stimulations in jobs. That's what it is, I think. And I worked on many minimum wage jobs while the national government was in, from 2008 to 2017. It is unfortunate because they were increasing the minimum wage by peanuts, like 25 cents a year. Let me break that down for you. So 25 cents an hour, if I worked 20 hours per week, which I often did while I was studying, was $5 more per week. After tax, it would make it about $3.50 per week in my paycheck. While my rent was skyrocketing every year, well, still and always, but yeah. Anyhow, this is how it led me to be a unionist, to advocate, to fight for the living wage as the minimum, bare minimum for anybody to be on, to be able to afford the living with dignity in really very expensive Auckland. I finally found something that it aligns with my values, interests, and my personality, being a trade unionist. It took me 50 odd jobs and a long time to come to this, and I've done about 16 interviews to get into the union movement, space in Aotearoa. What can I say? Persistency is one of the virtues of ADHD. And I did not need any of my university degrees to become a unionist, to fight against the poverty wages that billionaires like to pay people. I love Ali Wong, the stand-up comedian, and she says that she has a BA in ethnic studies, and it is a major where you study how you blame everything on white people. And it is not supposed to yield any income. That pretty much sums up all that I've studied for the 10 years at the university. Postcolonial theories and racism. What it did to me instead was to make me perpetually upset about all the prejudices and stereotypes that I'm up against on an everyday basis. I just became hyper-aware of them. I'm pretty much damned under the operation of unconscious biases. Let me list them all for you. My ethnicity, gender, accent, body figures, I'm not big, long hair, age, and now my ADHD condition on top of everything else, which can be seen as a disability. I tick all the bloody boxes. People often think that I'm incapable of the things that I'm totally capable of doing. People are quick to assume that I am a spoiled brat from a rich Asian family, which I am not. My mom works at a factory. Basically, an incapable spoiled brat is what I get. But that is all good. It just means that I just need to work a bit harder to reach that bamboo ceiling and prove everybody wrong. And to manage my ADHD conditions on top of that. Don't envy being me out there with a disability. Having an ADHD can be debilitating. It could come with big financial issues, chronic unemployment, unable to maintain relationships, mood swings, anxiety, unable to regulate emotions. However, it can also be a superpower too. People with ADHD can pay hyper-focused attention if something interests us. We can be creative, quirky, interesting because we think outside of the box. We can bring different perspectives and are willing to take risks. We have a strong sense of fairness and persistence. I wonder why I'm in the union movement. Having done 40 odd different jobs on poverty wages with financial issues has led me to become the unionist that I am with lived experiences. These ADHD traits have led me to the union work that I love, advocating for the living wage, better working conditions with persistency. Having ADHD does not seem to be all that bad. And the ADHD journey so far has given me a great sense of liberation, satisfaction, and growing love and compassion for myself, which I never had before. And hope many other people would find the same. And aroa nui kia koutou, kia ora.